Hey, you ready to paint another picture? Well, ready or not, we're going to. I got my canvas turned vertical today, but this time I don't have wet paint on it. This paint is dry. So we're going to be doing something a little different. Well, again, because we've already done a dry painting this series, but we're going to do this one. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into our sky color. I'm just going to go ahead and get my 2-inch brush here, and while I'm painting this, all the names of the colors are going to be, flashing on the screen. And then I've got this color right here that's a mud color. This is just a mix of all these colors on this palette, and yours, after you mix your colors, is probably going to look a little different. Let's go ahead now and get right into the ultramarine. Just pull out a little bit of ultramarine, not a lot. We don't need a lot of this color. We don't need a lot. No, we don't need a lot. In fact, we're just going to go up here and very lightly brush it in. And that's about all there is to say about that color. At least that brush. Now we're going to be using our round brushes again because I just feel like using the round brush. Actually, we could go ahead and use the filbert today. What do you say we do that? That sounds like fun. Here, just get a little bit of this color right here. And, maybe we'll start right here and just work our way up. Now, if you're working on a dry canvas, starting at the highlight and working your way back toward the dark color is a good way to do things. All right. This is a little wetter than I really intended to make it, but this really gets the point across. You can go ahead and just reinsert some things, because remember at the top of the sky, that's where it gets darkest. Okay, so we got that blue color just kind of going in and making itself at home, and then you can take some more of that white and work your way back if you want. Maybe you want to start down here with the white. That'd probably be a better way to do it, because up here you want the sky to be a little bit darker. Okay. And I think that's about all the time we really need to spend on a sky. And notice while you're tapping the filbert like this. Yeah. Makes a nice sound, doesn't it? Notice while you're tapping that kind of makes these little cloud-like shapes. Yeah, it'll do that. Yeah, it'll do that. Okay. That's all there is to that. Here, let's go ahead and wash off our filbert brush. If there's one brush that you absolutely must have, and we don't really see a lot of this brush on the show. I don't know why. Just haven't gotten around to it. This brush is a little stiff because it's had a lot of use and maybe a little bit of paint's dried on it. I should probably dip it in some genuine turpentine, but I don't really get around to it. Anyway, I got my roll paper towels here. After you show it who's boss, you wipe it on there, make sure it's nice and dry, and sure enough, old Filbert's ready to go. It's even got a ready-made name, Filbert. Cool name, huh? Alright, I think what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and just, pull out our alizarin crimson. Ooh, look how transparent that color is. I love these transparent colors. And we'll pull out some of this big little green and pull out some of that. Yeah, we'll pull out some of that ultramarine. Now I want to get mostly alizarin in here. Be careful with that phthalo green. He is a bully. He'll take over your whole palette if you're not careful. Gotta watch out for him. He knows things. He knows too much. He'll talk. Gotta put a lid on him. He's the bully of the pack. These two, ultramarine and alizarin, they're a little bit weaker, but my goodness, that phthalo green, he's a muscle-bound dude. All right, let's go ahead now and just, we got a lot of paint on the palette here. Why don't we go ahead and cut across right now? Let's pick a little spot where we think our building's going to be, because right here, maybe right about here. Well, you can go ahead and scratch it out. Go ahead and scratch it out. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, this is about the right angle right here. Yeah, that's about good. And then it's going to go probably about, right here down the canvas. And then, this little thing is going to, I don't know, maybe it's going to go about this far, right to there. Yeah, I think, well, I'm calling the shots here. You can make your own painting your way. Remember, it's your painting. I'm just telling you how you can paint. I'm not telling you how you have to paint. So if you don't like the way I'm doing things, you go ahead and do your painting your way. It don't matter. It don't matter the slightest. All that matters is that you like it. Did you know that? I don't know if you knew that or not, but now you do. Okay. And be sure you follow your guidelines. Those guidelines are really going to help you decide which color and which form. Because what we're doing here is building form. We're building the basic building blocks of our architecture. Okay? And that's really what we're doing here. What we're painting today is a little alley I saw when I was on vacation up in northern Michigan a little while ago. Because, you know, sometimes around here, people like to just go up north because it's kind of like a mythological thing where everyone likes to go up there and do a bunch of stuff like go on boat rides and hunt and all that business. And, you know, I'm not a big hunting guy, but I do appreciate the nature up there. It's a lot of very scenic places. And if you can, you should really try to go. Okay, we got a pretty good layout here, I think, of what we want. Now, let's go ahead now and, I'm just going to cover some of this up. Maybe we'll go all the way down here, too. Yeah, go ahead and use it. Now, I'm painting over a canvas that's been painted on before, so that does create some issues with smoothing things out, but it's not that big of a deal. No, it ain't that big of a deal. Alright, that's good. Let's go ahead now, set this palette down, and I'll show you what to do with this. Let's go ahead and set that brush, or not that brush, but that knife aside for right now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to smooth this out. Now, when you use a base layer like this, you want to be sure to smooth it out. Sometimes, I don't always do that, which is not good, okay? Yeah, right about yay far is where I want to go, okay? Okay. And there's going to be another little section of building that's going to cover that, okay? So look at this, You see what I'm doing? I'm smoothing everything out, so everything that I put on after this is going to go real easy. Real easy, okay? That's all there is to that one. So we can go ahead and set that brush aside for right now until we have to clean it off. Because we don't have to clean it off right now, okay? Now let's take our little palette knife, little buddy here. And let's go ahead and create us a color. Now I think I'm going to get a little bit of that mud and just, you know, throw it down in there. Because why not? Yeah. Throw it down in that mixing area because you never know what's going to come up, okay? And we're going to get some of that, ultramarine in there. Yeah, a little bit of that alizarin. Yeah, we're going to get a little bit of that. You could get some vermilion too, whatever you want. Whatever you want. And finally, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get some white. I'm just going to add it onto this right here. Yeah, that's going to look real slick. Real slick. At least I think it will. I hope it will. And you know what you want to do? You want to make sure that it's a little darker, or not a little darker, but a little lighter than you think it should be. Always make it a little darker than you think it should be, because you know you're going to have a tendency to make things as dark or as light as you think you should be. And I guess darkness goes too. But you always want to add one value brighter than you think it should be, because that's going to make it a lot easier to see once you paint it. Okay? Alright, so we've got almost about enough blue in here and all that. It should be just blue enough. It doesn't have to be super duper blue. And I'm going to make it just one notch brighter. There it goes. Alright, I think that's about good enough for this. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead now and make some big decisions here. Pull that paint. Alright, cut across. And right up here, we're going to start having some little brickwork and stuff. And you know, you can, since our brickwork is kind of indistinct, as it goes down, you can go ahead and turn the knife, because as we go down, we're losing a little bit of paint there. As we go down, you know what happens? The perspective changes a little. Okay, so you want to turn that knife so that those bricks follow. All right. All right. Now this, depending on the color, this can either look like, you know, bricks or wooden slats and stuff. But since we're doing like bricks and stuff, and we got this to be a nice little brick color. Okay, There we go. Maybe you don't want things to look perfectly even. If you don't, it's fine. Remember that, things usually look a little lighter at the top than they do down below. Okay? This is all we're going to do right here. There. You just kind of tap it, just like that. Don't you worry none. Don't you worry none. We're going to go again. Right up here. As you go. Turn your knife. Turn your knife, and look at that. That canvas will just take whatever it feels like. It'll take whatever it feels like. Alright. Alright, look at that. Okay. And you kind of want to try to maintain that perspective, even though the brickwork is going to be a little jacked up, so to speak. Okay, there's that. And then we got this over here. Okay. There. Maybe some bricks look better than others. I don't know. Point is, don't get it too distinct. There. There you go. Oh, that's a beautiful mottled texture, isn't it? It's all marble and looks kind of darker in some areas than others. Yeah, that looks kind of beautiful. I'm loving that. Okay. And maybe. I don't know. Do we want to get a little bit of a lighter color on there? Maybe a lighter value color? I don't know. We can just go ahead and wipe this on this little rag we got here. We can set the paper towels aside. I want to keep those paper towels nearby because I want to use that for my brush. Okay. But for the knife, I'm just going to peel off a piece and go ahead and clean everything. And everything should be set right with the world after we do that. There we go. Be sure you get all the edges of the knife too, because sometimes paint is a funny way of slipping under there and tripping you up. Yeah, paint's always got a funny way of doing things. Alright. Good. Okay. Let's go ahead and set that aside for right now. Now, let's go ahead and think about, I guess we could go ahead and whip up another color here. Maybe let's go ahead and smear that color back on the palette here. And let's go ahead and clean off this knife. Maybe we need to clean off both knives. Maybe we do. Maybe we do. Because I don't know. Maybe we got something, a little bit of a value color in between all that. Let's go ahead now and, let's go ahead and create, I'm going to take a little bit of the alizarin and a little bit of this chrome yellow here. Mix me up. Just a little bit of that. And get some of that mud color just to, temper that. Yeah, that's looking pretty nice. That's a nice color already. Yeah, I'm loving that. Okay. This is going to be like some moss and stuff kind of just growing on the side of this thing. Alright. Alright. Cool. But now let's go ahead and, maybe get a little bit of the blue color in here. And we'll take some of this and, throw it in there. Maybe we need a little bit more blue. Here. There it goes. Now the trick here with this is to get a color that is kind of a middle tone. You don't want it to be too dark and you don't want it to be too light. If you ever have a doubt, go ahead and set it against there and you'll wonder no longer. Okay? So once you got that, go ahead and all the places where maybe you missed a few spots, maybe you see some darkness and all that. In fact, we can go ahead and get our little palette knife for this because it might have an easier job. Let's go ahead and get the little palette knife on this one. Reporting for duty, little palette knife. Yeah, this is an interesting alleyway. There's some shops nearby and all that, and this is just kind of sitting out there. And it's not like it's a real nasty place or anything, this alley. Don't think that just because I'm calling it an alley here that it looks like it's dangerous or anything, because it's really not. It's really not. It just looks interesting. It's kind of mysterious when you look down here and you wonder what's going on here. There's some weird stuff happening here, and I don't know what it is, but it feels like a magical kind of thing. You know, magical realism, maybe? I don't know. There. I don't know. Is this color adding anything? If it doesn't, you know, we'll lesson learned. But I think it might be adding a little something here. Just try to get in all those nooks and crannies where you see the dark color. You know, maybe. Yeah. Why not? Imagine these are like skinny little bricks and stuff. Okay. All right. Right up there. Cool. Whenever you need more paint, just go back to the palette and scrape a little bit more off. I'm going to try to mix more color than you think you need. Notice that I'm being a little bit more careful, you know, throwing these darks in then, or throwing this middle tone in, than I was setting down the highlight. Well, that's because the highlight establishes everything that follows. So you don't want to go ahead and ruin everything, you know? You want to try to maintain all that good stuff. Good stuff is what's going to make this painting hold up. Okay. And we'll go in here. All the nooks and crannies. It's like an English muffin that way. Nooks and crannies, nooks and crannies. And I don't know. Some of these are, you know, whatever. That's always a good sign when you're saying, yeah, whatever. Not painting. Whatever. Here, go ahead in there and get some of that. There. That's good. That's good. Alright. And we'll go in here, get some of this. Because why not? And over here too. Because we don't want it to be lonely. Okay. There it goes. There she goes. And over here, there's a little bit more. Oh, that moss is just waiting to grow on. We haven't even gotten into it yet. That's how detailed we make some of these paintings. I paint relatively quick, and you don't have to paint as quickly as I do. You can just take your time at home. But we got the old clock ticking, and we gotta get out here eventually. Because, you know, we got some stuff we gotta do outside of here. Same old things that you do. Gotta worry about all the, you know, necessities of life and all that. But while we're here, we have fun. And we try to show you how to paint. And not just how you have to paint. Well, we don't show you how you have to paint. Like I keep telling you, we just show you how you can paint. And that's what I want you to take away from this. A sense of how you can paint. You can do it. You can do it if you've ever wanted to. You just have to set your mind to it. Now, of course, I understand that, you know, sometimes there's difficulties, but there's ways to work around stuff like that. You know, if you can't afford a lot of stuff, you can just buy a little bit of black and white, and you can work with that. And maybe if you're colorblind, you just work with whatever colors you see, or if you can't see any colors, you just work in black and white. Then you can still paint if you want to. If you want to. Okay, now we got all that. Let's go ahead and clean off the knife again, because I'm about to go ahead and, well, actually, I might use my brush for some of this other stuff. I don't think that I'm necessarily going to use the knife to brush on all the moss and all that. Here we go. Okay, let's get Filbert back out. Mr. Filbert, come back. We need you. Okay. Yeah, there it goes. Let's try this out. Let's see if this works. Come on. Let's go ahead and get a little medium on this. A little bit of that odorless turpentine. There it goes. Mr. Filbert, what do you say? Indubitably, sir. Alright. There it goes. You know, there's not really much technique to what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of tapping it, you know, wherever, just putting it in any old place. I know, That's nerve-wracking to hear me say, isn't it? Just putting it in any old place. Well, I know, but a lot of times that's just how stuff like this grows. Mildew and all that. Not a case of, oh, where's it go? Well, not always. Sometimes it just does whatever it wants. Does whatever it wants. You know, we'll go over onto that white area, because why not? And maybe we'll go in here. Because why not then? Okay. Go in here too, why not? Alright. And I don't know, maybe we'll go in right here too. And maybe we'll just give us a few taps here and there, and you know, just give it a little bit of character and all that. Yeah, that's good. And right here, maybe we'll just add a little bit of white on that. Why not? And we'll there. There it goes. That's looking nice. Okay. Now with that, just clean off the full filbert. And show him who's boss. Oh man, he's showing me who's boss. I told you he was a stiff brush. Stiff, no doubt. Okay. Let's go ahead and try this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the take a little green and the ultramarine and some of that crimson there. Alright. I'm going to take I'm going to get a lot of ultramarine on this. Okay. Right in here there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. Alright. And we're just gonna kind of hammer this in right here. This is the edge of that building there. And there's going to be a bunch of moss that's kind of just dripping down and threatening to fall off, and you know, it looks real neat when you see it. But it's real uneven too, so don't worry yourself too much about it. Don't worry yourself too much about it. Just do what feels right here. You know, I don't know, maybe there's going to be a little bit, you know, coming down here. Maybe there's a little bit coming down there. I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit. Yeah. Okay. See how we got all that? We barely did anything. Okay. It's still showing me who's boss. Oh dear. Alright. Well, we got that. So let's go ahead now and go into that yellow color over here. And maybe we'll just get a little bit of this. Yeah, we'll get a little bit of that yellow color, and we'll just pull out some of this over in here. Yeah, that's looking nice. A little chrome yellow, a little ultramarine, along with, you know, some of that mix that we got over there. Okay, and now we'll just go in now and, you know. Okay. Oops. Maybe we're getting too much yellow in there, huh? Yeah, maybe we're getting too much. There we go. Okay. Now we'll go over here. Maybe go down here a little bit. Just like that. And maybe over here we'll get a few things. Okay. There. That's the way. That's the way. Okay. So a little bit. Alright. Alright. And maybe we'll get some of that Maybe we'll get some of that alizarin in there. There. Just to temper it a little bit. You know how it is. You know how it is. Okay. So that's not bad. Let's go ahead now. Sit down for a second. So I can make sure I wipe this off just right. Yeah. There you go, Filbert. You're a good brush. I can feel his bristles starting to loosen up a little bit. Man, he really got it a while ago, didn't he? There he goes. There. That's one way to get it back to pliable. Back to pliable. Yeah, that's one way to do it, alright. Just bend them bristles. Alright. Let's go ahead now and, well, tell you what I'll do. Maybe I'll just go ahead up here and add a little bit of white in all this. Because sometimes these things, sometimes the sunlight strikes it just right, where it's kind of got that vibe to it. There. Alright. Okay. Yeah, now I'm starting to show it who's boss. Just had to get those bristles back in action. It was getting real stiff there. Alright, Filbert. We're on a mission now, bud. What do you say we go ahead and, well, let's mix up some colors, shall we? Ooh, I think I know what I want to do. I want to get my little palette knife. Sorry, Filbert. Gotta set you aside for right now. Gotta clean off this knife too. Sometimes you just gotta hammer in some big things and not fool around with the little stuff. We've been doing an awful lot of fooling around with little stuff, haven't we? Yeah, a little bit. Here, let's go ahead now. Get some of this. Ooh, I think we're gonna take a little bit of the ultramarine. Well, not the ultramarine, but a little bit of the phthalo green. And then a little bit of the ultramarine. Just enough of that alizarin right there. Okay. And then we're going to go in with the color that's mostly alizarin, and we're just going to smear it. And we're going to make some decisions right about here. Alright? And right about, ooh, say, we'll go right about there. Right about there. Yeah, we'll go right about there. Alright. So right about there. And that, we'll clean it up a little bit. Okay. And that will be our grand, that'll be our grand little plan right here. Okay. And maybe we'll go out this way. Okay? Yeah, maybe we'll go out this way a little bit. And maybe, yeah, right about here. There it goes. Little arch for us. And we'll just get some more color. And if you don't have enough, don't worry too much, because we're going to take this all the way down. There it goes. It's all right enough. You like that? It's right enough. Alright. It's going to go right about to here. But a lot of it's going to be covered up by grass and shrubbery and such. Okay. There we go. Let's go ahead now with our other 1-inch brush. Alright, smooth this out. It's important to smooth it out. If you don't smooth it out, ooh, it's going to give you problems. It's going to give you some big problems. Okay, here we go. Maybe we'll check our brush. Check your angles before you paint stuff. Make sure you pull it down enough, okay? Pull it down enough and pull it that way. And make sure it's got a little bit of an angle on it. If it doesn't have enough of an angle, or maybe you overshoot it and you get a little too much of an angle, it's alright. It's alright. Just go ahead and paint it in lighter. Okay? So we got that. We used all of our dark making that, which is pretty cool. Here. Let's make some decisions now about what to do next. Ooh, I didn't get any paint on my pants. Thought I did for a second there. Okay, let's go ahead and get some of that. Ooh, let's get some alizarin on this one. And then let's get a little bit of the chrome yellow. A lot of the chrome yellow. We want to have ourselves a nice little color here. And don't get too close to your edge there when you're holding your palette, because you know what's going to happen. Here, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to mix it right here. You like that? It's a little trick for you. It's easier to get a light color if you bring the color over to the white than it is if you bring the white over to the color. There you go. There we go. Just go ahead and pull this out a little bit. There it goes. There it goes. You know what we might do? You know what we might do for this? Ooh. 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 Here, bring a little bit more white in there. And just a touch more crimson. Touch more crimson. Just to, spice things up. There it goes. If I wanted to, I probably could have just gotten a little bit of the vermilion on this. But I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't. Well, if I ever run out of the alizarin, I can always grab more vermilion. I mean, that's always an option. Okay, I think we got enough here. Good enough. Actually, let's go ahead and add one step further, because you know what I say. Whenever you think you got enough, go one step further. You got me. You got me. I bet you called it, too. I bet you called it. Okay, now we got enough color on that. Well, I'm thinking what I want to do now is go in with the little side of the knife, okay? So with the little side of the knife, we're going to just go ahead and do kind of the same thing. We're going to go... Alright. And as we go down, we've got all that stuff. Okay, and then because we got a little bit of a... Oh boy, that's a lot of color actually. I don't know if I don't know how I feel about this quite yet. Now, be sure you turn your knife. Be sure you turn your knife as you're going down, okay? So you can catch the approximate angle as the perspective changes. Because you know how it is, the perspective does change as we go down. And be sure you go all the way to the edge there. Go all the way to the edge. And, go a little further than you think you need to. Okay? Alright, we got enough of that. Now we'll go over here. Yep, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to do it. Just touch it. Actually, what you could do, instead of doing it my way where I'm trying to twisting my knife around, what you can do is do it this way, where you actually use it at a sensible angle. A sensible angle. That's a good one. Yeah. Alright. Alright. There's that, and then we'll go up here. Maybe we'll redo some of this. And, there's some texture here. If it doesn't look too much like bricks, don't worry, because the bricks are kind of small. Alright. we'll go up here, just like that, and we'll go, and we'll change the angle as we're going down. Okay, and like I say, try to keep your line straight, like I wasn't there. All right, and there it goes. You want to try to just graze it. It's tough to just graze it. That's what you want to try to do here. Just graze it. All right. And then we'll go again. We'll keep going till we stop. We got enough paint to do that, you know? We got enough paint to make it happen. Come on. This is quite the experience. All right. All right. There it goes. There it goes. This is a fun little color. This is a fun little color. Okay. There it goes. And then, you know, we'll just go ahead and wrap this up right here. Okay. I said we'll wrap it up right here. There it goes. There you go. If you missed a couple of spots here and there, don't let it worry you too much. But if you really feel like it, you can go back in with a few things. Make sure that you get whatever excess you have on your knife, and you know, you can go ahead and throw that on. Okay, maybe you missed a lot over here on this first one. Okay, you can go over here and work around with that a little bit. Okay, that's looking pretty good. All right, now we're gonna go in with probably, let's just throw this down right here. Throw that down right here. All right. Now with our little knife, see, there's my little knife. I'm going to take a little bit of, there's a little bit of hair on this one. Let's go ahead and throw that aside. You know, we got a little bit of a bingo card going here where we keep a checklist of things that inevitably happen on the show, like getting the hair in the paint and, you know, getting paint on myself and knocking myself against the easel and all that. It's a real silly thing, but whatever. Okay, let's go ahead now. And, well, I think I'm going to take a little bit of this color that we were working with and add a little bit more of the alizarin in there. Okay. And I'm going to add just a touch. This time I'm going to bring the white over to this color. Okay. There we go. And so we know it's going to be a little different there. See? Make sure it's not too light. Make sure it's not too dark. That is the challenge here. Okay. All right. Down here we'll just take it a little bit. Yeah. This color's going to have a lot of alizarin in it. You know, you don't want to cover up everything, but if you got some little colors in here that are a little unremarkable to you, feel free to go ahead and just cover up some of the more violet things in there. Okay. We'll go in there and we'll do the same thing that we did the other side. And use the little side of your knife. Use the little side. There's a little side, or there should be a little side. There should be a little side, and there should be a big side. You want one of these kinds of knives that has a little side on it and a big side. And a little side is for, you know, delicate things like this. Did you know that? Well, if you didn't, you know it now. Makes life a lot easier when you want to just get in all those little places where maybe the color didn't work out on, you know, stuff like this. Okay. There. And okay. There it goes. There it goes. There it goes. Just like this. Just like this. Imagine that, I don't know, maybe these things are made of different colors, stone and all that. And it's a little weird to behold. Well, you got this two-tone building against the other building here, and it creates kind of a fascinating appearance. Alright. Alright, let's go in here and get anything else we missed. Did we miss anything in here? I don't know, probably. We inevitably miss something, because, like I say, I move a little quickly, so some things get overlooked and some things are a little faster than maybe they should be, but I try to show you how to do things. There we go. We can go ahead and leave it like that. Well, the way that stone kind of worked out, it's almost like wood, isn't it? Yeah, it's real interesting to look at. Kind of like that. All right. All right. Get all the paint off the knife and go ahead and check your knife. Make sure you got everything's in order on there. Make sure you don't have any more color on there that you don't need. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to go in here and we're just going to scrape out a little bit. In fact, we can go ahead and use our little side if we want. Because what we're mostly going to do here, is this highlight here on the side, right? Well, should probably go ahead and create a little bit of something here. Let's go ahead here and maybe get a little bit of the chrome yellow on that. And we'll take a little bit of the white and okay. And maybe it's got kind of this color right here. Maybe it's got this color right here. Yeah. Maybe the sun's hitting this one just right. It's got this, we'll add a touch of the crimson in there, because why not? Why not? Right? We got the crimson, we might as well use it. Okay. There it goes. Yeah, I think I want to get a little bit more chrome yellow on that. Alright. Alright. That's about good. We're looking for kind of a earthy, ochreish looking color, you know? And that way I think we'll have just what we need here. In fact, let's go ahead and get the big side of the palette knife on this one. Alright. Alright, that's where we do it. That's going to make it a little easier to really make a mark like this. And let's go up here too. Okay. Okay, that's good. Let's try to get this about even, because I don't know. That's about good. That's about good. We don't have to worry too much, I don't think. Well, I'll go ahead and get it a little down a little further. Down a little further, just like that. Okay. That looks pretty nice. So we'll scrape whatever else we got, because we might want to reuse some colors. I tell you to try to reuse your colors whenever you can, but sometimes it's inevitable. And you want to go ahead and just, take out a few things. Because you need some space in your palette sometimes, am I right? Yeah, sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. Here. Let me get some of this color over here. Sometimes what I do is I take a little tape and put it over the palette knife to keep it from reflecting too much on the camera. Sometimes the tape peels off because, you know, we're working with paint all the time, and, you know, turpentine gets in there and causes it to peel eventually. You know, little things like that. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Let's take our little knife again, and I think I'm going to take just a smidge of the chrome yellow, a little bit of white. Ooh, there's a hair on there. If there's a hair on there, just pull it out, pull it out. Ooh, that's a big hair. Yeah. You know what I say, it's just the trials and tribulations of oil painting. Trials and tribulations. Yep. Alright. We'll bring some white over here. Bring it over to the white if it's becoming a little too hot to handle, so to speak. Yeah, you see that? See how that knife is kind of getting a little old? Having a hard time coping with the style of painting we're doing. Well, eventually you have to replace stuff like that, and it's getting to be about that time. After, my God, we're almost at the end of the, boy, we're almost at the end of the second season here, aren't we? Yeah, we are. Okay. Yeah, just, when you do this, just graze the edge. We'll graze the edge over here too. Okay. We want kind of a there. There it goes. There. That's not bad. That's not bad. Okay. I think we might leave it like that. There. That looks kind of pretty. Yeah, that looks pretty alright. Okay. I'm getting paint in my hands already, so check off another one on the bingo card. Because it looks like things are getting messy. Yeah, we might have to set this knife aside for right now because it's having such a hard time with the colors. Unless, of course, the paint that just got under the tape there is going to help us complete this. So we'll just set that aside for right now until I really need it again. Okay. What I think I'll do is I will get out my big old knife. Yeah, the big old knife. Just make sure we got all that cleaned off right now. Yeah. Get ourselves a nice pile of paper towels right there. Okay, so we'll take it right about here. Alright. Right about there. Right about here is where this door is going to be, okay? Actually, we might go down a little further. Yeah, right about here. Right about here. Yeah, right there. Okay? So since we got that, let's go ahead now. Scratch this down. Oops. There we go. And in here, in this little door frame that we've drawn so delicately with our knife, we're going to insert some darkness. Okay, I think we've already got some darkness right here, don't we? Yeah, we do. So just go ahead right here. You know, we can go ahead and throw a little bit more on there. We can mix up some more if we want. If we're really feeling it, we'll get some of that alizarin, some of that phthalo, some of that ultramarine blue. And you know, cover up that. Because when you mix those three colors together, they so often create just these wonderful dark colors that you can't get any other way. And they're just, look how interesting that is. To me, that's a fascinating color, isn't it? Yeah, it really is. Okay. You know, you can turn the knife any which way. You don't have to, you know, put the knife where I tell you to. All right. There you go. See, we got ourselves a little doorway right there. That's fun. Okay. Let's take this dirty brush right here and pull this down a little bit. because you want to try to pull things down whenever you can and smooth out the paint. That way it gets easier to paint on. Okay, we got that. Now let's take our filbert brush and let's paint with some vermilion. Ooh, we're finally getting the vermilion out. Let's get a little bit of the ultramarine on there. We want this to be mostly vermilion, but we do want a little bit of a shadow-ish tone on here because this figure is going to be just inside the door here. This is going to be a weird one. This is going to be a weird one, okay? So, yeah, go ahead and get mostly vermilion on that. There. Vermilion, you're going to do wonderful things for us in a second. Alright, so right about here is where I want to paint that part. Over here is where I'm going to paint that. And I'm going to paint a little bit of this right here. Okay? And that is going to determine the size and shape of our figure. Remember, we're always laying down base colors like this. I remember, going into this, standing on the sidewalk at this alley and looking at that and wondering, what in the world am I looking at right now? There's someone just put a puppet in the door. It looked like it was something straight out of Saw. It's one of the strangest things I've seen. Now, let's go ahead now and get our round brush out. You know what I'm going to get? I'm going to get our big old round. Because sometimes you just need a big old round, Yeah, we'll go ahead and get some of this shadow color right here. That's the way. Just like that. Yeah, I like that color. Then we'll go ahead and give them a little tap right here. There it goes. There it goes. Yeah. See, I'm getting paint on my palette already. Banging my palette against the easel. It's alright. There. And then we'll take this down this way. There. There it goes. So now we got a little bit of that mysterious figure painted. And we'll clean this brush off. Remember, I've got a 5-gallon bucket here filled with odorless turpentine. Schroeder's laws. Ooh, got a little bit of a splashback on myself from that one. Goodness gracious. Yeah, be careful doing that. Might get hurt. We have fun here. We have so much fun. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to do for this. I'm going to take some of this alizarin and ultramarine and phthalo green, and then I'm going to get just a little bit of that dark color. Tell you what, let's get some more of the violet in this. Okay. All right. And then we're just going to go ahead and give them a little touch right there, and a little touch right here. And that bizarre little figure is complete. Oh, the things we paint sometimes. Isn't it strange? Here, let's take this red color we got here and mix up a little bit of the, a little bit of the ultramarine and the alizarin on that, and maybe we can get a little bit of yellow on there too. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll just take a little bit of yellow on that too and add a little bit more alizarin and chrome yellow. We're looking for kind of a burnt sienna-ish type of color. And I think I might have it pretty soon here. And things are looking pretty good here on my end. There we go. Alright, I think that's a good color right there. Here, let's set this color in right here. Alright. In fact, you know what might help? I might get out my palette knife for this, because I don't know that I really like the round brush doing this. Here, let's get out the little knife. The little knife, okay? Little knife, what are you going to do for me right now? You going to do nice things? Really appreciate if you could do some nice things. There. Okay. Alright. And we'll go all the way up to about yay high. Yeah, right about there is where I want to go. Okay. That's strange. This is one of the strangest pictures we've done so far. Here, let me get a fresh rag for this one. Let me go ahead and set my palette down. So we can get the fresh rag and continue painting this unique and challenging picture. You know, this is one of those landscapes where you paint it and you wonder, boy, how did I ever do this? Yeah, I feel that quite frequently, actually. Here. Ooh, I'm getting paint all over my palette here from my hand. Oh boy. You better watch what I'm doing. Getting yellow all over my fingers. Thanks. Well, that is one of the trials and tribulations of painting, as I like to say. Okay, so let's go ahead now. I think we're just going to get a little bit of white on this one, so let's just pull out some of this white here. And I don't know if it really matters if we... Okay, we'll just go up this way. We'll touch it right here. Like that. Here. Right here. Because for some reason there's bars on this door. For some reason there's bars right there. I don't know. These people up here doing all this crazy stuff, you know. Oops. Oh man, I'm getting paint on my hand again. Now, this is why I gotta... Here, let me set my palette down while I get the paint off myself. Okay. Oh, this is one of those episodes where I'm just getting paint all over me. Good gravy. What is happening to me? What is happening to me? Well, I'm becoming a painted man here. I'm gonna be more paint than man in a second. Here, let's go ahead with our big old round. Let me get my big old round out. Ooh, oh dear. Got ourselves a big old drip on that brush too. Ye gads. This is not a day where I'm winning. This is a day where the painting paints us. That's what this is. Yikes. Alright. Here, I'm just going to set that right there. Got to get organized here. Let's rinse this off. Little hummingbird right there. Oh dear. Having too much fun. Chronic case of it too. Okay. Now let's go in here and ooh, I'm gonna get some of this black color here. Let's get some of the alizarin and ultramarine on that. And we'll just go over here and there. Cover up some of these little doodads here with this dark color. That's better. That's better. All right. And let's go ahead and clean that off. Okay. Let's lay this down. Let's roll paper towels so I can be a little bit quicker about what I'm doing. And we'll get some more of this, you know, bluish color here that we got. There. Let's go ahead and just caress the edge of this. There it goes. Okay. There's that. All right. Let's go ahead and set that right there for right now, and then tell you what, let's clean off this knife. Don't waste any of the paint. Just wipe off the darkness and wipe it off again on a paper towel on your nearby rag. That way you'll be all ready. So we got a few windows we got to do here. Let's go ahead right here and let's make some decisions. This one's going to be right about here. So I'll paint that and we'll scratch out what we need right about there. Okay. Okay, right about like that. Yeah, that's good. And if you need to, just wipe off the excess. Oh dear, getting more white on my hands. It's just one of those days, huh? Yep, it is one of them days. And right about, right about here. Right about there is where this next window is going to be. Yeah. Right about there. That's good. Okay. Now let's go ahead here and oops. Yeah, whatever. A little bit of paint on the pants. Isn't that just life? Here, let's take a little bit of this color right here and add it to our blue. Maybe we'll get a little bit more blue in here. We just want a touch of the ultramarine with the phthalo blue, or not the phthalo blue, but the phthalo green. Because you know what happens if you add too much phthalo green? Boy, does it overpower everything. Yep, sure does. So you want to get mostly ultramarine blue in there. There it goes. Okay. And that's how we know we're doing a good job. When we're not adding too much phthalo green to everything. Alright, so right here we can add this color right in there to that window. Okay? Add that. And then maybe we'll add we'll take most of that color off and we'll go down here and add a little bit more to the white. Okay? Maybe we'll add just a little bit of blue in there while we're pulling down the white and all that. Yeah, that's how we'll do it right there. We got that going. So we got a nice turquoise style white here. So let's go ahead and pull that down. Pull it down. And right over here. Right over here. Go ahead and pull it and get your window. Okay? Looking good. Looking good. So let's now go over, well, I need to go ahead and just wipe that off. Alright. Maybe. For our next window, we want, got ourselves a hair. Where is it? There it is. Gotcha. Here, I'll just grab that. One of the trials and tribulations. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we'll add a little bit of ultramarine to this, because ultramarine makes everything a little bit more pleasing to look at. It's just one of those colors that we've grown so accustomed to over the years that it's hard to not look at it. It's hard to not love it. Alright, that's that's very nice. That's a nice muted blue we got going there. Alright, so just like that, we'll take that color. And maybe we'll add a little bit of white to it. Yeah, maybe we'll add a little bit of white. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. There it goes. Okay. And right about there is where we'll stop that one. Okay. And I'll wipe off my excess over there on the side. And we'll go ahead and just add a little bit of white over to this color. Actually, I'll just grab some of this color right here. Okay. Just like that. Actually, let's go ahead. Like I say, get at the center angle. Just turn the knife over. What am I doing? Sometimes I forget that my knife has two sides. There. That's a little better. Okay. Oh, get it wherever you want. Doesn't necessarily matter. There. That doesn't look bad. Alright. Now, over on that side, let's go ahead and wipe off the knife again. And let's draw ourselves a window. Put down the palette for a second. Because we're going to need to concentrate on this one. You don't want to fiddle around too much with windows and all that. You can really put a window anywhere. But this one I'm kind of just going to line it up with this one here and maybe shave a little off the top here. Yeah, that's good. That looks nice. Remove some of that dark color, and then we'll oops. No, a little bit more paint on my pants. We should just clean those. We should just clean those brushes. We really should just clean those brushes already. Goodness gracious. Such foolishness. Such foolishness. Alright, so I'm just going to take some ultramarine blue with some of our leftover color here and white and combine that together. And then we'll have ourselves a nice little color going here. And that looks a lot brighter than the one that's right next to it over here. Alright, this is good. So right here, we'll just pretend right there. Got it. Okay. Maybe we got that. And maybe there's another window over yonder, so we won't get rid of that color. But maybe we're going to use some of the color we used over here. Okay. So we'll take some of that color that we just used, and we'll use it over here. Okay. Alright. Very nice. Very nice. And, I don't know, maybe over here. Maybe over here, right about there. Yeah, we'll just scratch that out. Okay. Maybe it's just one of those buildings that has like kind of a weird window setup. And maybe this one's a little higher than the others. Alright. Okay, just like that. And we'll use that same color again, because why not? We'll get this one right here. Okay. There it goes. Okay. So now I think I want to get out my round brush again. And let's just go ahead and clean it off. Showed who's boss. Let's tear off that rag, because that one has a lot of paint on it. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Yes, I suppose it would. Okay. Yeah, we got a lot of... Let's get some vermilion on here. Yeah, let's get some vermilion in here. Get it in on the action, you know? Alright. So, take some of the chrome yellow here and... Yeah. Oops. I meant to get the ultramarine and not the alizarin on that one. You know, sometimes the colors just happen. Sometimes they just happen. Alright. Alright, so there's a little bit of a key to this. And we don't want to lose what we just created there. Alright. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to clean these off. Because right now, you're kind of just taking up space. Alright. Show it who's boss. That's right, we really are showing it who's boss now, because it's been showing me who's boss this whole time. Not anymore. Okay. Showing the 1-inch brush who's boss. Good time always. Okay. Let's do this other 1-inch. Okay, we got that taken care of. All is right with the world now. Well, let's go ahead now and get a little bit of our, our magic dark mix with the ultramarine, the alizarin, and the phthalo, and we'll get a good amount of that alizarin in there. All right. So we'll just go in here and notate a few things. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one, I don't think. Okay. Okay, so right about there. Alright. Okay. Okay, maybe we'll go ahead over here and get some of that. Alright. Looking good. Looking good. Alright. So let's go ahead now. And we'll take, what do I think I want to take? I know. Let's go ahead with the yellow. Always get the yellow first, and get the alizarin, and then get some of the blue in there, and just a little bit more of the alizarin to spice things up. Okay. There it goes. Then we'll gently touch all these areas. Because maybe this is what these little windows look like. Maybe they got a little bit of something on the outside here. There it goes. Right over there, and then maybe we got this one over here that goes. When you use your round brush like this, just graze it. Just graze it. Doesn't have to be a whole big thing. Okay. Okay. Now we'll go over in here. Maybe. Well, actually, I want to get that ultramarine blue. I want to get a little bit of the ultramarine blue here. And just lightly get it on there, okay? And I'll get a little bit over here too. Okay. We'll set that brush down because we might use it again later. Here, let's get the little knife. Just get that little knife and a little bit of that color there. And right here. Okay. Some of the things we do here are kind of crazy. There. Maybe that'll show us a little bit more of that window color. Maybe if we go up here, we can get a little bit more of that. There. Okay. Now let's go ahead with the blue and white color. And right in here, right in there, we're gonna get it. And remember, you got two sides to that knife, so feel free to use it. To really define the windows. Whenever you paint windows, you can do it like that. Alright. We don't have to. Should we paint everything? Probably not. Probably not. Will we paint everything? Probably. Here. And we'll go over here. And maybe over here. Okay. And maybe. Like that. Like that. Okay. Actually, here's what we might do. Let's go ahead with okay. Yeah, we are having a lot of fun on that one, aren't we? Yeah, okay. Well, it's about time to start thinking about some bigger things happening. What we can do, take the knife here and, kind of mix up something with mostly alizarin and mostly ultramarine, maybe a little bit more alizarin to the ultramarine here, okay? And we can, the liner brush, get a lot of odorless thinner around here and run it through this paint, okay? And maybe, well, you know what we could do? What we could also do is just take a slice of the white and put it on there, okay? And I think that'll get us mostly where we need to go here. Okay. All right. I'm going to run it through the paint again. And you just just want to roll it on there when we do this. If it gets in the ferrule, it gets in the ferrule. Whatever. We want this paint to be kind of runny. Still not runny, that's how thick it is. That's how thick this paint is. Should be a little bit like ink. Should be like we're, you know, writing a letter with it. That's how much it should flow. I think we've got the right consistency finally. Okay. So right in here, we're gonna just draw some. We're just gonna draw a few random little things all growing around. You know, maybe they're kind of just shooting off. They're going every which way. Now try to keep your lines thin. If you accidentally get a big one, you know, whatever. There. Maybe these things are starting to encroach on the side of the building and moving over this way, and I don't know. Maybe they're going, you know, they're all getting all tangled and all that, and yeah, just like this. Maybe over this window that's starting to cover things up a little bit. Whoever's supposed to be keeping this place up isn't doing a great job. Uh-oh. Someone's gonna get chewed out. Someone might get fired. Wouldn't that be the worst? Yeah, it would. Okay. So for this one right here, I think what we want is to set the brush aside. We'll set that aside for right now, because we're going to use it again in a second. Okay? Now keep that. Go over here. And on this, we'll take some of this alizarin, little chrome yellow. Alright? Now you want a lot of chrome, well, not a lot of chrome yellow, but a lot of alizarin on this. But we want it to be a little browner than this color, so that's why we're changing the color a little bit, okay? And you know what? Let's rinse off our brush. Be gentle with it, because it's a liner brush. This one's not a warrior. This one is built for romance. Alright, so let's do the same thing here. Get a lot of the medium in it, roll it around. You want it to be very, very much like ink. If you don't have enough, get some more. Okay? Don't be afraid to get more if you need it. Look at me. I've already got like what, 4 times? Who knows? Okay. So now you've got, this one's got its own problems. Oh dear. What's going on? I wonder. Ooh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Why? It's got vines growing all over. Oh no. Vines all over. Oh dear. Well, like I said, whoever owns these things, they're not keeping them up all that well, are they? No, sir. No, sir. Isn't that rough? Okay, so we'll go here. Maybe we'll take that and over that way. And then we'll go over here. Like that. And yeah, we're having fun. And you know, when you paint the vines here, they're all going every which way. Okay. Yeah, they're going every which way, and you know, maybe there's one going up here and some going around down here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. Yep. This place is in trouble. that or it's pretty, depending on your point of view. Yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit more red in there. I don't know. Maybe we'll get a little bit more red. Some more of that alizarin. That wonderful transparent color. Hey. And maybe that's not running enough. Some of these colors are really thick. Real thick, I tell you. Real thick. So you gotta add a lot of the odorless turpentine to get it to flow. Okay? Yep. There it goes. There it goes. You could do this all day, just adding all these little things on here. Creating all these little curiosities, these vines. You know, they're kind of just taking over the place, and it's getting kind of weird. Maybe there's one kind of sneaking up there, and ooh, yeah, that's nice, huh? Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Yeah, you know, the vines kind of just go all over the place, but they kind of there's like an origin, like right down here, and then they kind of spread out. Yeah, just like that. It's kind of like a web of little branches and stuff. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. So now we can go ahead with, well, let's get Filbert out. I think Filbert might like to have some fun here. Let's get Filbert out. Okay. So let's take some alizarin and some phthalo. Okay. Let's take alizarin, phthalo. Okay. Let me go ahead and clean this brush off. Because it's a little too wet right now. Okay. Now we can make it work. Okay. And a little bit right there. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to just, what you can do is you can kind of just, if you want, you can use the tip of this, but we can also turn it outside and just, slap it. It's funny. We can just kind of slap this mix right on there in a very literal sense. Isn't that fun? Yeah. That's actually really exciting. I love that. Okay. Hey, you know what? Back here, maybe we want something a little bluer, something a little greener. Well, let's get more of the ultramarine on there because that's more of a natural color. Yeah. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and we'll slap some of this on there. Okay. Yeah. There it goes. There it goes. Okay. We'll go all the way up. We'll go all the way up to here. Okay. And maybe right here. Maybe get a little bit more of that mix in there. Okay. Mostly ultramarine. Mostly ultramarine is what we're doing there. Okay, now right about here. Just slap it in. Slap it in. There. Okay. Okay. There it goes right there. Perfect. Alright. We got that. Let's clean up this poor brush now. Filbert. Nice work, bud. Nice work. Alright. Look at Filbert go. Man, who knew that Filbert would be the MVP? Well, let's be honest. Those knives are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, too. Sometimes it's interesting which brushes are going to succeed the most. All right, let's take some of this color here and pull out some of this chrome yellow, and we'll mix things down there a little bit. Because once we start adding color back here, it's going to get interesting. All right, let's say we get a little bit of this down in here. There it goes. There it goes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get this a little wetter with the odorless turpentine so it comes off the brush a little easier. And the old filbert here won't have a hard time getting things going. Okay, so right about here we'll start. There. Filbert, what do you say? You think this is any easier? I don't know. We'll just get a few things here. We don't want to get everything. Leave some of those darks intact because those darks are really going to illuminate everything. You got to have those dark colors to really show your light colors. Okay? And then right down here we'll have another one right there. Okay. That's good. Maybe I'll put a little bit more yellow in this so we can get this color there and this color. Okay, there, just like that. Then maybe down in here. There it goes. There it goes. Okay. Showed who's boss. Come on, get out of my way. I've got a painting to do here. I ain't got time to fool around. Fool around, that's what I've been doing all day. Okay, let's get some of this yellow out and we can do things that are a little bit more, well, I don't know. We still want a little bit of that medium on there, that little bit of that odorless turpentine. That way we can really get this going. There. So we'll go in here. Yep, just like that. And maybe we want to get a little bit right there. Maybe a little bit over here too. Okay? And maybe we'll get, I don't know, some over in here. That's the way. Mostly yellow on this one. Mostly yellow. Alright. Okay. Then we'll get some of this, some of those little details right there. Okay. And maybe over here. Come on, right there. There it goes. And over in here. There we go. Whoops, I'm getting a little bit of yellow on my hand there. Well, that's always fun. Okay. Alright, we don't want to... Maybe. Here's what I can do. Well, first I want to clean off this yellow I just got on my hand, because that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't want to have too much of that going on. Then tear off a piece here and another piece so I can clean off my filbert, so I can clean off Mr. Filbert here a little more easily. What I'll do is I'll take a little bit of the phthalo green, and ooh yeah, I know, phthalo green, right? Ooh, look how intense that is. That is a wild color. But sometimes you want to pull it out just so you can go on there and flex a little bit, like this. Okay? And when you do that, sometimes it works out. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. That's why you gotta be careful with a color like this. This color is no joke. Okay? So be very careful with that phthalo green. Because when you mix it with that yellow, ooh boy. Ooh boy. it's going to get bright. It's going to get bright very fast. Okay? We'll add that right in there. There. That's looking pretty. Here, anything else that we want to throw on there? And I think we want to throw a little bit more yellow on here. Why don't we get some of that yellow and throw that right on this area right here. Maybe there's just some random areas where we can toss some yellow in. Right here. Maybe way up here. Yeah, just like that. Just like that. Just like this. Yeah, so pretty. So pretty. Okay. Okay. I think we got it. I think we got it. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and set this down. Filbert can sit right there. He's got a throne of honor. A throne of honor on the easel. That's the greatest honor I can bestow upon a color. A color in my service. Whew. Whew. There's another one for the bingo card where we're hooting like an owl. You gads. Alright. This was a tough one because there's a lot of variation. It's a tough one, but it's a fun one. Okay, let's go ahead here. Maybe we'll go up in some of this color right here and just mix up this dull color. And right here we'll insert what we think the windowsill should look like. And then that's all we're going to do with it. Okay. Yeah, that's all about all I got to say about that one right there. Is that looking good? I have no idea. Things always look different when I'm painting it versus when I'm actually looking at it. Okay. Well, let's go ahead now. And, well, I think now's the time where we should pull out some of this color. And we're going to get some of the ultramarine and some of the alizarin, but mostly ultramarine and phthalo green. Okay? Because guess what's going to happen next? Ooh, why don't we take these guys off this easel right now? Because I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like them banging around quite like that right now. We need a little bit more peace, a little bit more quiet right now. Because this is a Zen moment. Oops. Okay. Here, you can sit right there. Take a load off, guy. Okay. Now where was I? That's right. Going in with the ultramarine and the phthalo green and the alizarin crimson. Okay. That's about all there is to this. Alright. And we'll go all the way to the edge here. We'll pick up a little bit of this. And there's going to be a big old bush right in here. But you didn't know that. And this grass is going to go down this way. And it's going to go right about to the edge right here. So it doesn't matter if we, cover up a little bit extra. That doesn't matter. Look at that. That was easy, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Whew. Okay. Well, we don't have to clean that quite yet. So let's set that aside. And now let's take a little bit of that yellow and that green. Because maybe we're going to take that yellow and that green and we're going to just tap it. Okay. So the bristles bend up a little bit when we do that. Alright. Bristles bend up. Just like that. And if we want a little bit more of the yellow color, we can run our brush right through that yellow. Okay. And we don't necessarily want lots of paint, but we can tap into the brush to evenly distribute it. And then we can go ahead and do a few more things like that. Like maybe that yellow color goes all the way down here. Okay. And then, oh, I don't know. Maybe we've got a little bit of the vermilion coming in to disrupt that a little bit. Okay. Maybe we've got just get a little bit more yellow in there. Okay. And then maybe we'll get a little bit more vermilion right here. Just to create some interesting little things that are going on right here. That is interesting. Maybe this is happening in here. Okay, maybe you got that happening. Maybe it's coming around to the forward, coming around to the front rather, the forward. Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's all there is to that. And if you want, we can go ahead with a little bit more of that phthalo color. Come in here. Get a little bit more of the yellow and the phthalo. Okay. And we can go in here and kind of just, tap it where we see fit. Okay. There it goes. And that's about all there is to that. Isn't that fun? Yeah, it's fun. Showing it who's boss. That's what I like to do. Oh, it really is. Okay. Got that brush clean. So let's take, you know what? I'm going to take a 1-inch brush on this one. And we're going to take some more of our dark colors here. We're going to take some of the phthalo green and the alizarin, and we'll go ahead and use a little bit of imagination on this one. Say right about in here. We'll add a little bit of, this one's going to be mostly phthalo green and ultramarine blue on this, with just a touch of alizarin in there. Okay, and that's all there is to it. And we'll make some decisions here, like we'll go right in there, and maybe up in here, this is where that bush is going to go. Maybe it's going to go all the way down here. Maybe if we make the bristles bend, ooh, we can do some stuff. Okay. Now look at that. Now you want it to be a little lighter. You want it to be a little lighter in the middle, at the bottom, than you do at the top. At the top it should be pretty light, but at the bottom, that's what you want right there. Bend the bristles around if you want. Bend them. Okay? That's all there is to it. And this bush is kind of going to go out a little bit, So don't be afraid to really get some stuff out there. Okay? Look at that. Now we want to think of an easy way Alright, wipe some of that off. We want to think of an easy way to do long, leaves on one of these fern style plants. I don't know if I'm getting the name of that right, but I'm not particularly well versed in the names of things, but I do think that, well, what we can do here is we can take our, let's go ahead, get that fan brush a little wet, and split the hairs up a little. Split the hairs up a little, okay? That's what we want right there, okay? And then what we'll do is we'll run this with a little bit of phthalo right through our chrome yellow. And we'll be sure it's got lots of more chrome yellow. Maybe not lots, but a little bit, okay? And then maybe right down here. And right there, okay? And I don't know, maybe it's got a little, and maybe we just got, yeah, that seems like a pretty quick and dirty way to paint some ferns like that. You just layer them like that, and you angle them. You keep pulling them in different directions as you go up, like up here, and over here, and then over this way. Okay, that's about all there is to it. You don't have to do any more to that. It's a fun and neat little way to use your fan brush to create those little fern plants. All those little leaves. You don't have to create each individual leaf. You just go ahead and slap it in like that. All right. Little hummingbird. The fan brush has got to be one of the most underused brushes, I swear. Here, let's go ahead and just throw some quick things in here. Like, I don't know, maybe imagine there's a flower box right here, and you know, there's just some little colorful things happening right there. Yeah, just like that. We'll set him right there, and then we'll get out the big old round. Where's my big old round? There's my big old round. Get my big old round here with some of that color that's got a little bit of that, a little bit of ultramarine, a little bit of alizarin, and we'll throw a little bit more vermilion in there. Throw some more vermilion in there. I mean, this is going to be an unusual mix. We don't see this mix too often. I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be fun. Okay. And we'll just throw this, you know, right in here. Right there. This is, we don't have to devote too much time to that because no one's really going to be looking there. Remember to spend your time mostly on things that people are going to be looking at. If no one's going to be looking at it, you really don't need to spend a lot of time on it. Here. We'll go over here and just, you know, throw maybe a couple of things in there. Yeah. That's better. That makes me feel better, seeing this. There. Maybe up here. Okay. And over in here. There it goes. Just a few things to really make my mark there. You know, leave a lasting impression. Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the liner brush and, well, actually, let's go ahead now and with our big old brush, let's create something of some woody looking things. Like right here, maybe we'll take some of that ultramarine and take some of the yellow. And then, yeah, got ourselves a nice and dark looking wood-like color. Okay. Okay, we'll set that down right here. Oops, I'm getting paint all over my brushes. I'm getting paint all over everything. I am unstoppable. Yeah, yeah. Here, we'll run the brush through that color right here. And we'll just bring it right up this way. Okay. Right about like that. Okay. And it'll stop right about here. And maybe it's got a couple of branches that go out. It's a little thing. Doesn't have to be real detailed or anything. We'll just go in here. Okay. Take one of our 1-inch flat brushes. These are made with natural hairs, by the way. I like to use the natural hairs because it doesn't really streak as much and it goes on a lot easier when I do these things. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now what we do is create a plant full of darkness. And we just kind of press it all over. You bend the bristles. And you want kind of a big, bushy looking thing. Maybe you got a couple of things down there. Who knows? If you need to go in and create some more of that dark color, go right ahead. You know, right down in here. Okay. There it goes. Alright. Don't have to fiddle around with that too much more. So let's set that brush down. And then we'll go in with, well, let's get a little bit more of our phthalo color with some of the chrome yellow. Alright. And right here, we'll, just like that, there it goes. And right down here, bend it a little. Maybe we'll do a little bit right there. And maybe a little bit over in here. We'll add a little bit more yellow to it. And okay. There it goes. There it goes. All right. And we'll just get our big old round out now, because I got some plans for this one. Here, let's take this color here, and we won't do much with that right at the moment, but we will in a second. We'll take some of the vermilion, some of the ultramarine, a little of the alizarin right there. And we're going to create a few little moments right here on this. There's going to be one right here, one right here. And the bonus part of doing this is that we're going to create some separation very easily from the background, you know? Okay. And we got one more over here. And do we have any others? Yeah, we'll throw maybe one right there and one right here. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, showed his boss. Quickly now, we'll get some alizarin. And where do I want to go? I'll go right here. We'll go right into this. This one's going to be mostly alizarin. We're going to add some white. Okay. It's going to be mostly white. And then alizarin. And you know what I say, make it a little brighter than you think it should be. And right here, we'll go over top of these. Just like that. Okay. There's that one. And here, we'll go, well, that one can be draped in shadow a little bit more. Let's go ahead and rub this one in our dark color right here. Make it look a little bit more bruised. Yeah. Yeah. There, that one's not so lively now. Maybe we got that one there and that one. We got that one sneaking in. There it goes. Okay. Okay. So we can do that. Yeah. Show it to his boss. And give it a little wipe down too, just to get everything all cleaned up for yourself. Alright. We'll take some of this color with the fan brush now, and we'll just go over here and create some little things. You will get a little bit more phthalo green in there. Yeah, if you need some more phthalo green, go ahead. Got this big old mixing pot full of colors right here. Okay. Maybe there's just a big amount of crabgrass in there, you know? Maybe. Okay. Let's go ahead now. Little hummingbird. Show it to his boss. Make sure it's all cleaned up. And now we're going to take some of the color that we've been using. Just add a little bit of white on this. Well, a lot of white. Let's keep it real here. Just going to have a lot of white on that. And on the other side, we're going to have a lot of this color here. Here, let's take some blue on this. Let's take some blue on this. Now, this isn't going to be a real bright color. This ain't going to be a real bright color, but it's going to be, well, bright enough. Here. Here we go. Here we go. What do you say? You want to get a little yellow on that? Here, let's go ahead and get a little yellow on it. You get a little bit of alizarin in there too, just for good measure. Take some of the color we're already using. There. And we'll just cut across from right here to right about here. Okay. There it goes. Right there. Okay. Alright. Here's our base color. Okay. There's the base color. Okay. And we'll go ahead and just wipe that off. Well, not wipe it off, but we'll smooth it out a little bit. There it goes. There it goes. Okay. There we are. Now we'll take that color and we'll take our little palette knife and we'll go ahead now and pick a spot right about here. Right about here to here. And then we'll, okay. Actually, you know what might work better? Getting our round brush on this. There we go. Getting our round brush on this. There it goes. Okay. It's funny how the round brush has a way of solving problems like this. Okay. Is that about right? Yeah, that's going to be about right. Okay. That's about right. All right. Okay. That brush is all cleaned off. I showed his boss. Now with this knife, I'm going to scrape off that. And right about here, just to get our perspective about right, we'll cut across right. Okay, that's good. That's good right there. And now we know the painting's done. That's all there is to that one. So roll our brush through some of this vermilion, get a little bit more if we need it. Yeah, get it real liquidy. And right here, we'll measure S, K. And that's all there is to that one. Okay. Well, that's about all the time I have for today. I really hope you enjoy this one. I really hope you give it a try. It's going to be a very challenging painting if you do decide to try it. But it's a good exercise in your round brush, your filbert, and your palette knives, of course. Anyway, it's time for me to head out. So until next time, with love from me to you, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.